the closing reception for my show, GhostNet Landscape, which is, most of you just came from the gallery, right across in front of Scott Hall. So it opened October 7th, and it is an interactive community installation transforming marine debris into art. So a little bit about me. I moved here from Kauai in 2014 to attend Pacific University. I graduated from here with a studio art degree in 2016. So I did my last 2 years of my bachelor's degree here at Pacific and graduated 3 years ago. I've been an artist all my life, and I've always had an interest in working with reclaimed materials and also doing ocean conservation work and nature-related work. But this project is really the first project I've done that brought that interest together with my art making. They've always seemed like kind of two separate things almost in my life. So GhostNet, the project is called GhostNet Landscape. GhostNet is fishing rope and net that's lost or abandoned at sea. And the reason that I called the show GhostNet Landscape is the image on the left. I had this experience at the beginning of 2018. I went back home to Kauai, and I've been making these baskets on the right since 2015 out of pieces of GhostNet that I picked up off the beach here on the Oregon coast, back home in Kauai, on the East Coast where my grandparents live. It sort of seemed like it was everywhere where I went.
Let's take Northwest Zion Church Road and US 26 East Beaverton.
But I didn't realize how much they were collecting in certain areas until I went back home to Kauai, and I thought, oh, I've been making these baskets. I'm going to see if the local surf rider group has some materials that I can use. So I asked them, and they said, yeah, sure, you can come collect materials from us, and that is their dump site. So that was the experience that inspired me to create the GhostNet Landscape show. I didn't realize how big of a problem it was, even though I had been living there and I had seen it on the beaches, but I just didn't realize how much material there was. That's a pile of 2 tons of net that a group of 10 or 15 volunteers and a couple of pickup trucks had collected over 2 months. And they're now collecting about 10,000 pounds a month on Kauai alone. So I thought, the baskets are great. I like making them. People like seeing them, people like holding them, but the real experience that I want people to have is that experience of the landscape of this material that's washing up or, not washing up, that's still out in the ocean. So this is Kauai, this is where they collect it, and it's washing up in Hawaii from around the Pacific Ocean. It's not all coming from the Hawaii fishing industry. The way the ocean currents run in the Pacific Ocean, a lot of the material that is lost on the West Coast or in Alaska or in Asia just goes away, and people in those areas don't see it again. Some of it washes back up locally, but a lot of it just disappears, and Hawaii is where it goes because of the way the currents run. That's just at the edge of the North Pacific Gyre. Big Island actually gets a lot more than Kauai even. So this sort of felt like a global issue that you hear about on the news and you see pictures of made local, like, wow, this is on my home island. It's right here in front of me and I'm experiencing it. Like, I'm not seeing it in a picture, I'm standing in the pile. So that was what I wanted to bring to the gallery. GhostNet is also sort of an underrepresented issue, I think, in terms of ocean pollution. We hear a lot about plastic straws killing sea turtles and plastic bags and that sort of thing. GhostNet is actually almost half of the mass of plastic that's floating around in the Pacific Ocean. So fishing gear is a big issue. And I thought, not everybody knows it's a problem, but there is a lot of awareness about ocean pollution already. There's a lot of good documentation about the problems that it causes and the terrible things that are happening out there. I thought what I want in this exhibit is not to focus on what's bad about it, but here is this resource, essentially, that we have now. What are we gonna do with it? We've got so much of this. What are we gonna do next? Not who's to blame, where is this coming from, how can we, point the finger, but we've got it now. Where are we gonna go with it? So I couldn't get all 10,000 pounds from Kauai to the Oregon area. I live here now. So I partnered with a couple of local agencies. So Surfrider on Kauai did send me some actually in boxes. They shipped it to me. Oregon State Parks, park rangers pick it up on the beach as part of their job. And normally it'll just go into a dumpster, either a regular dumpster or a recycling dumpster. Now they call me and say, hey, we've got a load of rope, come get it. And I've also partnered with 2 commercial fisheries, one in Oregon and one in Washington. And that is not ghost net, so it's not lost or abandoned at sea. And they want to be very clear about that. We're not throwing this in the ocean, we're doing what we can to do the right thing. But then, I mean, so this is a commercial fishing yard and you can see how much there is. What do they do with it once they can't use it for fishing anymore because it's a hazard of the line snapping and falling into the ocean and becoming ghost net? So they have this huge mass of material that they have to pay a lot to take to the dump, and they don't really want to take to the dump anyway. So they've been really happy for me to show up with my rented cargo van and spend half a day cutting apart nets to take to exhibits like this. So what I personally do with this is I use what we know here as crab line. On the East Coast it's lobster fishing line, so the sort of 3-ply finger width line, and I unwind it into the 3 pieces, which I've been doing with people in the gallery all month, so some of you have probably done that with me. And I stitch it on my sewing machine into baskets. So I could make baskets like this for the rest of my life and not make a dent in the amount of material that we have out there, or that's being, responsibly recycled even, not the stuff that's being thrown in the ocean. There's so much. So I thought this is an opportunity to bring other people in. So when the show opened here in the gallery on October 7th, it was really fun for me as an opening reception. For an artist, normally, you have to have your whole exhibit done, everything has to be framed and finished and perfect, all the tags on it. I opened with an empty show. There were 2 huge piles of material on the ground and pedestals with a couple of small example baskets that I had previously made just to show what we were gonna do. Blank walls, empty pedestals, and a little sign that said, people are gonna be here making art. So every day, it's been really fun seeing how the space transforms. I have been working in the gallery every day, so that's another different thing about this show. Normally, you will put up a show and then that's it, it's done, you can walk away from it, and it just lives by itself in the gallery. I've been sort of like an artist in residence in the gallery. I'm there every day working and working with other people as well in the space. So I have made these 3 baskets, which are in the gallery. This one is big enough to sit in. It's about that big. And the other 2 are smaller. But most of my time has been spent collaborating with class groups. This is me with a class group hauling the material into the gallery. It was an entire class who we got it out of the van and just hauled it in by hand. And I brought in so much, partly because I wanted to show how big of an issue it is, just the physical confrontation with this massive pile of material, but I also wanted to show I can't do this by myself. There is so much here. I physically cannot move it by myself. I can't do anything with it alone. It has to be a group effort, which is sort of the point of it being a global issue. It takes collaboration to have an impact. It took collaboration for it all to get there in the first place. So I have a time-lapse camera running in the gallery that takes one still image every minute. Every day of the show it's been running, and every day I add about 10 more seconds of daily footage to the video loop that you'll see running in the gallery. This is the first day of the show, and that is a couple of days ago. So you can see the difference from empty walls, first day, and me in the corner, and then all of these things that have been made with it. I have had over 300 students and community members come in throughout the show so far to participate, and every one of these has been made by somebody different. I didn't make most of this. I made my 3 baskets and 1 fish. So the main collaborative project that I thought of when I realized I have 300 people coming in, scheduled to come in to help me with this, is I thought I can have everybody make a fish, and then hanging them all up together, you realize I made 1 fish, what difference does that make? But then you see all 300 of them together, and it really does have, it's pretty cool. It has an impact when you see them all. I don't give people instructions on how to make the fish. or what kind of fish to make, or which materials they should use. You're free to use any of the materials in the piles on the floor. And I thought that was also a really important part of the experience, because everybody's going to make a different fish. They're going to make a different kind, a different size. They're going to choose different materials. They're going to come with their own skills and knowledge and perspective to create something different. And that has been so much fun to see growing in the gallery. I've thought of this whole thing as a hands-on, collaborative, creative experience. It's an opportunity for people to come and have that chance to just play and create their own work from whatever they want to make, whatever pieces of material they're attracted to, and get their hands into it. This is material that most of us haven't experienced with our own hands before, although it's interesting, the people who come from a fishing background have a very strong connection to the material. It means a lot to them when they see it. But most people have never dug through a pile of net and rope before. So every class session has started with some time unraveling the 3-ply rope that I use to make baskets into the single strands. So people just start unwinding. After a while, they realize, wow, this is a lot easier if somebody else helps me. And I let that evolve organically as well. If people just want to sit down and do their own piece, that's what I did for most of the time that I was making baskets. But if you do end up collaborating with someone else, you will find it goes a lot faster. And everybody came up with their own ways to make it go faster, things that were really smart that I hadn't thought of, which has been great to see. People just, you're presented with this pile and no instructions and just a very sort of a general vague prompt of what to do. People have been really ready to take on that challenge and run with it. That's been really exciting to see. So once everybody's gotten used to the material, then people start making their own projects. And these are all shots from this gallery exhibit of people making different kinds of fish. Everybody chose something different, and I feel like that sort of creative problem solving, where everybody's seeing it differently and approaching it differently and working together at the same time, that's the kind of thinking that we need to solve a global issue like ocean pollution or any of the environmental issues that we're currently facing. It's not going to be me saying, hey, I know how to solve this problem, everybody make baskets like me. It's going to be people thinking, what can I do with this that nobody else has thought of yet? And how can I find people and resources to help me do that? So the fish was the official collaborative project, but people also made lots of other things. So iterations of hammocks go through. There's one currently, it is, I think it's safe. It's not certified, but it holds people. People have made produce string bags. Students for environmental activism had one of their meetings in here. They were making hammocks and they were making bags. A group was in here making bags. Right outside here, the Dia de los Muertos decorations are made with some of those nets, and the white buoys, the sugar skulls, came from the gallery. We've had door hangings, cat scratching posts, dog pull toys, and the rainbow rope wall and the video projection on the front of it was a student project. That was, I had functional needs. I said, I need to hang this material up and I need a video projection running, and making it this beautiful rainbow that everybody is very aesthetically attracted to, and projecting the video onto that was not my idea at all. That was the student's idea. That was Sabrina's idea. And that has been the most fun part of this project for me, is to see what other people do with it that I would never have thought of. And that is the last most important point to me of this project. I love doing this. I love going dumpster diving. This is one of the commercial fisheries. It's a 40-yard dumpster, so it's a giant dumpster that you have to climb up a ladder to get into, full of crab rope. That's a really good time to me. I think that's really fun. I love going to the beach and collecting it, and I think that is really important, to find something that is not just important to the environment or to social justice issues, but it's important to you anyway. It's something that you wake up in the morning excited to go do because it's fun. Because these issues are so huge and can be so overwhelming, and we hear more and more statistics every day about, sad facts about whatever issue it is. If you don't just love it, it's really hard to keep going long term. But I like making baskets, and I like going and getting this stuff. So to me, it's fun. It is a lot of hard work. But I feel like if you're doing something that is personally sustainable as well as environmentally sustainable, that's what's going to keep the momentum going long term. So the show is open through Halloween. I will be there 1 to 5 p.m. Tomorrow and Thursday. And the 2 big piles on the floor, the idea is that I don't take any of that home. And that seems kind of incredible that would actually happen, but the first time I had this show in Portland this spring, I had more material than that, and it all went. I took home 2 bags, the IKEA blue shopping bags that I wanted to use, but other than that, everything went to other people. And that was so exciting that I had to go out and get more material for this show because I had none left. I do have a website for the project, which I update sometimes, ghostnetart.com, and there's postcards in the gallery with the URL on them as well. And that is the end of my presentation. Are there any questions or thoughts?
Do you sell the baskets, or how are the baskets?
I do.
Okay.
Yep, I do sell the baskets. They're on my website, and the ones in there are also for sale. They're tagged.
Did you make baskets before this project?
Yes.
Okay.
So I started making the baskets actually in 2015, sort of here and there, and then this year, I didn't realize I was going to spend the whole year basically doing this project, but that's how it ended up, because it just, sometimes you run into something that almost seems like it has a life of its own, and it's like, oh, I guess I better run with this.
So what are some of the proposals that have come from fishing industries and other people that are collecting the nets to do with them instead of just sending to landfills? Or what are other people employing them as?
So the biggest thing that people are currently doing with them is burning them for energy, which is, we need energy, but I'm not sure if burning plastic is the best solution for that. If you talk to the people who run the incinerators, they will tell you that the air is scrubbed and it's clean, but I haven't done my research. Sir Fred or Cawein said we can't support that. So I don't know. That is mostly what's happening on the West Coast and in Hawaii, is waste to energy. I believe there's a plant in Europe and one in South America that melts these back down into nurdles. They're little plastic pellets. Pretty much everything plastic is made out of, just little pieces. So then you can reuse it again to make whatever. A lot of artists are starting to use it, actually, in places where you see it wash up a lot. In Hawaii and Australia, I've seen a lot of really beautiful work made of not just fishing net, but just any ocean plastic. So I think the reclaiming it and melting it back down again, if we're not going to go the route of just no more plastic, nobody ever used plastic, if we're still going to accept that plastic is part of our culture, probably reclaiming it from the fishing industry and melting it back down for reuse is the best current solution that I see, because it can be turned into anything again. It's, as far as I can tell, there's no degradation. It's not like a second-rate plastic product.
Who are some of your favorite artists working with this as a medium?
Ooh, mostly where I see these more artists working on this is Instagram, so I know their Instagram names. So one in Hawaii is Nurdle in the Rough. She makes jewelry. She's on Big Island, so they see the most of it. I'm trying to remember. I think her name is Kat. And I really need to put up on the website actually a list of other artists doing this work. There's a couple in Australia as well. Yeah, I don't know any of their actual names. That's really bad. There is actually a group that I just found out about on Instagram that is sort of collecting artists who make art out of ocean trash. That I will post that on this website this week, because they're already gathering all of that data into one place. So that information will be up by the end of the week.
What would you say is the coolest piece you've made?
I kind of like my giant basket right now because it's so giant. I've also done a few that I don't have here in the gallery, but I just started doing them this year, where I actually hand embroider stuff onto the baskets, so like shells and bits of like little stones and driftwood, and that's been really fun. I'm just starting to figure out where that goes. Sort of, these are very simple and like they have one stone and they're very like clean, and the ones with the stuff on them, I kind of feel like I just want to encrust them with more stuff.
How long does it take you to make one of those baskets?
That's a good question. It depends on how much I have to struggle with my sewing machine. I am not an expert seamstress. I basically learned how to sew on a machine to do this project. So how many needles did I break? How many times did the thread snarl up in the bobbin area? If everything runs smoothly, I can do 2 of these forms in a day, so those are about this big. But that doesn't count any of the time that I spent processing the material, which takes longer than stitching the baskets.
Do you know of any instances where people are using this material for like more functional day-to-day applications, like maybe even repurposing it for smaller scale fishing or something like that?
That is an interesting idea. I do not know of any of that happening. The most functional things I've seen made out of it are like the hammocks and the produce bags. I don't know. Next time I go out to the fishing yards, I will ask them that, if it would still be useful for like a smaller boat. But I'm not sure if it's constructed in a way that they would be able to use it. That's a good thought though.
How has this project changed your relationship to the ocean and also kind of your consumption habits?
That's a really good question. Yeah. It's changed my relationship to the ocean. I think before I started doing this, even when I was making the baskets, but before I started doing this exhibit where I bring in all this stuff, I felt like really that sort of the overwhelm of there's so much, you know, that's happening in the world that's difficult, and I should be transforming my life in service of solving this problem, but there's nothing I can do that will be enough. And I'm gonna be perfectly honest, I was not willing to absolutely transform my life. I drive a car, I use plastic, I eat meat, I still do. But now I think about that in a way that I didn't before. So it's more of a conscious, like, this is a choice that I'm making every time I make it. And I mean, like, I drive a hybrid car, but I'm still driving a car, you know, I don't know if it has caused me to reduce consumption, I think, but not in a huge way. And that's been interesting for me too, that I'm not perfect. I'm not an eco warrior. And I've had a lot of people like, oh my gosh, what you're doing is so amazing. I'm like, no, I'm just like you. I'm not doing all the things. I'm just doing this thing because I like doing it. And it is something that I found that does make a difference that I can keep doing. So yeah, that's been interesting for me.
You're influencing a lot of people though, so I think you're touching people in other sort of ways, even if it's not transforming your own behavior.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has been a transformative project for me, and I feel like everybody has their own choices that they're willing to make and not make, that work for them in their lives. So, and it's an ongoing process, right? I mean, ask me again in a year and you might get a different answer.
You might be living in a rope house.
Actually, one of the things they're experimenting with doing with this stuff is compressing it into what I think they're called bioblocks. So it's like a cinder block. It's the same shape as a cinder block, but it's made out of this stuff. So that's like, they're just in the very beginning stages on Cawein, actually, of figuring out, can we actually build with this? They have a test pavilion that's not like, nobody actually lives in it, but they're gonna see if it holds up. So I may be living in a rope house. Okay, can all go back into the gallery, and if you want to take stuff, you can take stuff. Thank you.